Hello and welcome back. My name is Philly, and you are listening to Bedtime Finance Stories. I love history and the world of finance, and on this channel, I bring both together. Here, we explore some of the greatest financial scandals in history, told in a calm and soothing way, perfect for listening while you drift off to sleep. Tonight, we will dive into the dramatic collapse of Lehman Brothers in 2008, a turning point that transformed a financial storm into a full-blown global crisis. So settle in, get comfortable, and let's begin. Lehman Brothers wasn't just any bank. It was a financial institution with roots stretching back to the mid-19th century. In 1844, a young German immigrant named Henry Lehman arrived in Montgomery, Alabama. Soon, his brothers Emanuel and Mayer joined him. They opened a small general store, trading goods like cotton. Over time, they shifted from selling products to financing farmers and merchants. This was the birth of Lehman Brothers. From cotton trading in the South, the company moved into New York banking and investment. By the early 20th century, Lehman had become a respected Wall Street firm. It financed railroads, supported the growth of industries, and even helped take companies like Sears Roebuck and Company public. For over 150 years, Lehman weathered wars, depressions, and economic cycles. It grew steadily, earning a reputation as a tough but successful investment bank. By the 2000s, Lehman Brothers was at the top of its game, employing more than 25,000 people worldwide and boasting billions in annual profits. But success often hides fragility, and Lehman's strength was built on one market in particular: real estate. At the turn of the millennium, the American housing market seemed unstoppable. Low interest rates, financial innovation, and government policies encouraged home ownership. Banks competed to issue mortgages, even to borrowers with poor credit histories. These risky loans became known as subprime mortgages. Here's where things got creative. Instead of holding on to these loans, banks bundled them into packages called mortgage-backed securities. Investors could buy slices of these bundles, earning interest as homeowners paid their mortgages. It sounded like a win-win. Home buyers got loans, banks earned fees. Investors got safe assets with attractive returns. Lehman Brothers dove headfirst into this business. They weren't just participants. They were leaders. Lehman aggressively bought mortgages, repackaged them, and sold them worldwide. As long as housing prices rose, everything looked brilliant. Lehman's revenues soared. Its stock price climbed. Executives took home massive bonuses. By 2007, Lehman was reporting record profits, over $4 billion in net income. But beneath the surface, the foundation was crumbling. To many investors, mortgage-backed securities looked rock solid. After all, people always pay their mortgages, right? And even if they don't, houses can always be sold. Adding to the illusion, credit rating agencies often gave these securities high grades, labeling them as safe investments. Pension funds, foreign banks, and even governments poured money into them. But the reality was different. Many of the mortgages inside these securities were weak. Borrowers with poor credit histories, adjustable rates, or little income documentation filled the portfolios. As long as home prices went up, no one noticed. But when housing prices began to fall in 2006, the problems became visible. Borrowers began to default. Foreclosures rose. The supposedly safe securities lost value quickly. Lehman was sitting on tens of billions of dollars of these assets. Instead of admitting the scale of the risk, Lehman tried to reassure investors. Executives insisted the company was strong. They released optimistic statements, downplayed the losses, and even used accounting tricks, known as Repo 105 transactions, to temporarily hide debt from their balance sheet. For a while, the illusion worked, but only for a while. By 2007, the cracks became impossible to ignore. Defaults on subprime mortgages soared. Other banks began reporting huge losses. Hedge funds collapsed. The credit markets grew shaky. Lehman, however, clung to the hope that housing prices would stabilize. They doubled down, holding on to massive real estate positions. But hope is not a strategy. Lehman's stock began to slide. From a peak of $86 in early 2007, shares tumbled below $20 by mid-2008. Confidence evaporated. Clients pulled their accounts. Counterparties hesitated to trade with Lehman. In finance, confidence is everything. And once it disappears, a bank can fall in days. By September 2008, Lehman's situation was desperate. Billions in losses, dwindling liquidity, and evaporating trust had pushed the bank to the edge. U.S. officials convened emergency meetings in New York. Treasury Secretary Hank Paulson and Federal Reserve Chairman Ben Bernanke urged Wall Street leaders to find a solution. There was talk of a rescue, perhaps by another bank. Barclays of the UK and Bank of America showed interest, but both insisted they needed government guarantees against Lehman's toxic assets. This time, however, Washington said no. After already rescuing Bear Stearns, Fannie Mae, and Freddie Mac, political pressure was fierce. Lawmakers didn't want another taxpayer-funded bailout. Over a tense weekend, negotiations dragged on, but by Sunday night, no deal was in sight. And so, on Monday, September 15, 2008, Lehman Brothers filed for bankruptcy. With $600 billion in assets, it was the largest bankruptcy in U.S. history. The news hit like an earthquake. Markets plunged. Investors panicked. Banks stopped lending to one another, terrified of hidden losses. The credit system froze. For ordinary people, the fallout was immediate and painful. Jobs vanished as businesses cut back. Retirement savings shrank as stock markets crashed. Millions lost homes to foreclosure. The Lehman collapse turned a U.S. housing downturn into a full-blown global financial crisis. In the aftermath, blame flew in every direction. Critics pointed at Lehman's leadership, especially CEO Richard Fuld, who had championed aggressive risk-taking and dismissed warnings. Others blamed regulators for failing to spot the danger. Rating agencies for blessing toxic securities with high ratings. And even investors for chasing returns without asking hard questions. Congressional hearings turned into public spectacles. Executives were grilled, but few faced serious consequences. Lehman's collapse became a symbol of Wall Street greed and systemic failure. From the ashes of Lehman came reforms. The Dodd-Frank Act, passed in 2010, aimed to tighten oversight of financial institutions, improve transparency, and reduce systemic risk. Central banks also changed how they respond to crises, determined to avoid another uncontrolled collapse. But the legacy of Lehman remains. Even today, the name evokes panic, greed, and the fragility of financial systems. It reminds us that trust, once lost, can topple even a 150-year-old institution in a matter of days. And so, The story of Lehman Brothers is one of rise and fall, ambition and hubris, growth and collapse. A bank that began as a small cotton trading business in Alabama ended as the spark for the greatest financial crisis of our time. Thank you for joining me tonight. I'm Philly, and this was another bedtime finance story. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe and join me again as we explore more of the world's greatest financial scandals. For now, close your eyes, relax, and drift into sleep. Good night.